Trying to make sure that we're live. Says I'm live. I'm not seeing the screen though. Let's see. Hey, little Steve, can you hear me right now? I don't think you can. Interesting. Oh, I'm live. But can you see the screen at all, Steve? Oh, there we go. Okay. Sweet. Yeah. Wasn't sure if it was actually live. It wasn't showing on my screen. All right, cool. I'm probably gonna head straight into some of this stuff. Actually, if you guys hear any noise out there, they're doing construction, of course. You know, because why not? Why not? Anyway, so my last video, like, I understand every frustration the fandom has right now, because of course you don't want, like, what's supposed to be the biggest, baddest devil getting, mocked up by the main cast again. It's it's an old story, it's an old formula, and you'd expect much more. So I've always been of the thought, like, this should not be the actual Lucifer. It doesn't make sense schematically. Even if you put Morris in there, the feats of dragging what's supposed to be the last level of Clipot to the very top just doesn't make sense for how long Morris had him, regardless of his talent for devils and being amped by a devil. It's just a massive, massive, massive feat that shouldn't have even been regarded as something that could be possible. On top of that, there's a lot of other stuff that I did map out in that video that explain why it's definitely possible this isn't even Lucifer at all. But again, I think it's just very important to go over, like, when you guys look into this stuff yourselves, just like realize these aren't true names, these are titles, and titles get very finicky. There are devils and actually angels as well fall into this category of if one ends up stepping away for whatever reason or dies, it is then replaced by another one, and that entity takes up that name. So these are not true names. Even when you hear like Satan or Lucifer's true name being Samael, it's not a true name still. It's just a way that they operate. And Samael goes from just poison of God to just death, essentially. So that's another important factor. And then I wanted to bring this up, okay? So I know for a lot of my theories, I use the other tree of life. It's just called the Sephiroth. This is the one that's specific to the one that's being used for this Advent. And oh my gosh, if you guys are hearing all of that stuff outside, I apologize. It just had to be when I press record. It really just had to be. So, anyway, this tree is very specific, and I've been reading up on a lot of having to do with this tree, and there's a lot more that is attached to this that I really doubt Tabata would include in this story, but it's possible, and I might just talk about them in other videos. But essentially, it works the exact same. However, the layout is obviously different. So down here, we have the realm of Malkut, which is where the physical realm is. And as you can see, it's attached to all the other spheres of the Tree of Life. What's different, though, is instead of making the inverse tree below Malkut, where it would then overlap with the underworld, instead it has these feathers. And if you notice, it'll say Binah in Thronos, Gebura in Pater, and where is it? Keter in Seraph. So the thing here is that the person who made this tree is not really saying that there are necessarily demons or angels. It's kind of weird because yes and no, he does. He's got his own stances on both. However, it's not specifically depicted as to like why he chose this layout. But they do go on record to state that the later versions of the Sephiroth are the more complete ones, but it's not because they laid it out and put devils in with these spheres or angels in with the spheres. It's because they separated it into 4 different worlds. And we've gone over that many times on this channel. It's just called Jacob's Ladder. If you want to look it up yourself, more than welcome, so you know what I'm talking about. But it all works the same. So we have Adonai in here, and Adonai is another word for God. And we kind of go over this a lot in the Metatron video, where all of this, we'll call it the magic channel for the sake of keeping things in context. This whole channel here is supposed to gather everything from every branch, send it right down to what is Earth, the physical realm, so that it embodies everything God is, because all of the things in between this are emanations of God. While this would be not God himself, but more of a representative of God, who is often mistaken as God, as gone over in the Metatron video. So that's Adonai. And then we have El Chai Vel Shaddai, or Shaddai. And this is kind of what started getting me into, like, what exactly is going on with the Dremelech. So, if we do parallels between, like, these spheres and what devils would belong to them, Adonai would belong to Nama, while El Chai Vel Shaddai would belong to Lilith. And this is a really interesting sphere, because I guess the scholars are in a big debate over what this actually means, because it's not very specific to any one thing. However, it seems they converge on the thought that this is more so the destruction aspect of God, and it's not destruction in the way you would think. So their mindset is God was able to create all these things for a whole week, right? And at the end of that creation process, at the end of that week, he had to abandon the process of creation, which means it's a form of destruction through stasis. So he's able to stop creation. And then we look at Lilith and her powers, who seems to perfectly mirror, like, being able to freeze anything, to keep anything from growing, because as we know in ice, things stop the way they are, which is why things don't necessarily rot when you freeze them, and especially in absolute, like, very, very cold ice, things will be held in almost perfect shape. So I thought that was really interesting. As far as Adonai goes and relating it to, like, Nama, this person who created this tree, who is actually, like, one of the biggest backbones to most esoteric societies, who actually had very deep connections with, like, Crowley, and a lot of our favorite guys that we like to, like, name drop, like Newton, Isaac Newton, Nikola Tesla. Like, these guys were all in on the same page, and had some very profound esoteric thoughts. Albert Einstein as well. But they go on to describe how this realm would be likened to this realm almost directly. Now, it's, of course, for the reasons that I stated before. But they say that light, in its purest form, is fire. So for Nama to fit into this, I mean, obviously, that's the most pure fire you can ever have, is just one that burns anything and everything without cause or reason. And it is an absolute destruction, instead of absolute light. So it does make sense as to why Nama would fit under the Adonai aspect, and then Lilith under the El Chai Vel Shaddai. Now, this is what we're really here for. So this third branch is where Adremelech would be, which corresponds to Had, on the tree of life. And this is called Elohim Sabbath. And this is very interesting because Elohim Sabbath means the God of hosts or Lord of crowds. And when looking into this, it's it's something that's very debated, and I don't know if it's just the guy who made this tree that made it so just like hard to interpret, or if this is how it's really it is how it's really described. I can say that while doing stuff like this, these guys take the best they can out of any scripture they can find and try to lay them on top of each other to try and make one picture. And this is the picture that he got. So, like, all of these names are mentioned in Bibles, in the Torah, all that stuff. And they sometimes have differing meanings or just a slight variation of another. Sorry, I'm just seeing the chat kind of go. Let me see what you guys are talking about real quick. Let's see if you hear everything from outside. Yeah, dude, I'm sorry. And then let's see. Oh, you guys aren't even talking to me. Okay, so anyway, this means Lord of crowds or God of hosts. So what I'm thinking here is when we see Adramelech manifest, I guess, or just kind of appear, he has no real interest in anything. He barely wanted to see like the civilians get killed. He just kind of warned them, like, dude, guys should definitely go. But I have pointed out on several occasions that it seems that every time Lucifero got into somewhat of a bind, Adramelech would give us an expression, and then Lucifero would come out on top again, and show us something slightly new. And it would seem that Adramelech has this, like, I picture it as and I'm just kind of rolling with this theory. It's not precisely what I think is actually happening, but I think it is important to flesh out some of this stuff. So, to me, as far as this theory goes, I feel like if you see Naruto, when they have the guys with the Rinnegan, the six paths, their vision is connected. So imagine that sort of thing, just with two people, and look at where Adramelech really is. He's got a very good vantage point of the entire battle, so you can see everyone behind Lucifero, everything that's just specifically happening. And if he is somewhat controlling Lucifero, then it'd be very easy for him to do so. Just position where he's at. Now, I do want to. I have some thoughts on Adramelech, and I think it's very important just to reference what everyone else is referencing right now, which is the wiki, and then kind of go from there and kind of flesh out some of the stuff. Now, I did make a post yesterday talking about how Adramelech is unique in the fact that he's the least fleshed out, and is not necessarily regarded all the time as a fallen angel, but more of like a Canaanite god, which is what all kings of Edom are at one point or another. But again, not very fleshed out, but this is also the only devil that runs with this name in here, Melech, which is likened to Moloch at the very end of this. So, to think that there might be a connection would make sense, and even still, the people that worshipped Adramelech actually burned their children to sacrifice to Adramelech. And this is the same thing they say about Moloch. So very interesting. And then I do state that in Crowley's tree, they have Belial over Adramelech, both ruling that sphere of Samael. And it reflects the Thamael in that way. Of you have one representative that seems to have Moloch, some attachment to Moloch, while the other, in this case, is Lucifero, but Belial in the actual tree is made alongside Lucifer, and was always meant to be the angel of darkness and the angel of lawlessness. So very interesting that it happened to be that way, and I don't think that's a coincidence. I feel like these guys saw something that a lot of other people did not. But let's see what it says here. He's the ancient Semitic god mentioned briefly by name in the Book of Kings, where he's described as a god of seraphim. And in this case, this is not like the angel class seraphim. This is like two cities. Yeah, these two right here. So again, not much on like being a fallen angel per se. Not that it can't go that way. And yeah, here they talk about the Seraphites burning their children in fire to sacrifice to Adremelech and Anemelech. Now, Anemelech is the sibling to Adremelech, and there's really not too much on it, on that devil. But it would be kind of cool if Tabata does go that route of like, you know, these guys are maybe brothers, which would explain like, you know, these dual possessions of Lucifero. But we'll kind of get into that a little later. I do want to see what else is in here. Oh, that's the important part here. So, I did mention this in the other video. His name does come out to be Majestic King, or the Majestic One is King. And that's only important in the fact that we see all of these devil hosts with, not all of them, I'm just talking about Dante, Morris, and then Asta as well, have these crown-like markings whenever they're attached to the devil. And it can very well be that Adremelech did have some hand in these possessions as far as Morris and Dante go. And one of them easily could have been Adremelech, and we just don't know that. And this is where I kind of want to get into why that name, what was it? Elohim Sabbath means Lord of Hosts or God of Hosts. I think it'd be really interesting to piece this together as Adremelech being able to kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say manipulate devil hosts, but maybe make devil hosts or unbind devil hosts, which would give him a lot of power in this case, right? Because that's the one thing that seems to be, you know, holding this whole fight together is this one kid that's able to attach himself so deeply to a devil, and could definitely dismantle it could compromise the tree itself. So I don't think he'll see it as a threat, more so than an opportunity to make something great. So I've got kind of this this bit of headcanon of Adremelech not necessarily being like this crazy sadistic devil that we've been getting that has like, you know, no intellect whatsoever. I think it even says here, let's try and find it, what his role is in hell. I think I passed it a long time ago. And see, there's really not much here. Where is it? Where are the gods? He rescues my... Okay, yep. Interpretation. Oh, here they also say it could be an epithet for Baal, which is why I don't want Baal included in the story, because Baal is also synonymous with Beelzebub, like pretty directly. And I guess that's another talking point for later in this live, for anyone that is down for the spoilers for like the next kind of talk that we're going to have about that, because I think Baal is already introduced to this story in a somewhat unique way. Sorry, I'm just trying to see if it specifically says what I'm thinking on this page, and I don't think it does. That's okay. So Adremelech in hell is a couple of things. So as far as Lucifer is concerned, he is the one he's in charge of Satan's wardrobe. So that's kind of a lame thing as far as like, you know, being a devil in hell. Like, okay, how is this guy going to dress today? Pretty lame. However, we can bend this, just put on like your riding cap and kind of think how can we interpret a wardrobe, and we can outfit someone with like certain devils, like Nox outfits himself with 4 different devils or 2 combined, to create a more desired effect. And to go back to like him being the Lord of Hosts and being able to manipulate them on some level, or outfit them more efficiently, would kind of make sense. And then we get this this instance where they all aggregate, right? That was a specific word used. All these demons from the second level start coming together, and this is why I've kind of been rolling with this. Like, Adremelech has something to do with, all of this. He hasn't just popped up. I think he's been in this for at least that moment, where he was able to outfit a vessel for this certain being or devil. Now, I feel like, a lot of people are apprehensive to go with that. The driving point here is that Adremelech, in this case, would seem to have like this, he takes on a very like spectator type vibe. He has no interest in being like any type of ruler. He doesn't want to be the king. However, he takes more interest in finding like, okay, who can be like a king? How can I make something great? And I do view him right now as some sort of like mad scientist. And the reason for this is that I think that to support this theory, it's possible that instead of Lucifero taking over Morris, it was instead Adremelech, and we do see a difference in markings between Morris and Dante, where Dante has a bit more definition to his crown marking, while Morris's are just kind of lines and less defined. To couple with another scientist, we have to know that like scientists, when it comes to magic, alchemy, is to create life. And this is looking straight into the future, and I believe we've talked about this on this channel, definitely with WK, about this, Asta being a possible golem, a product of alchemy, and to bend it in that light, I then view Lucifero, the being that we just saw get mopped up, as somewhat of a creation. And if you guys are familiar with the video that I did on Morris about the Diamond King that he was controlling, being an automaton, then you kind of see where I'm going with this. So in this case, it'd be a more demonic automaton that he's trying to make sentient, that can make their own decisions, be intelligible, and kind of live its own life separate, but also in servitude of him or whatever cause. So in that case, we then get this, big fake out where it's just like this big experiment. Like, here's exactly what I'm thinking. With Adremelech clapping the way he is, saying like victory is yours, he's not stoked that like, Lucifero's down. He's stoked to see that something was strong enough to kill his creation. Like I spent time on this one creation here, and you totally did away with it. Like, now I have something to base my future designs off of. Now, to get back into this Lord of Hosts thing, we also don't see Lucifero himself here just hopping into like a lower level devil. Now, what that specifically might mean can be interpreted a couple ways. Like, we could be talking about low rank devils, mid tier devils, maybe even high ranking devils, or we could even be talking about like lesser supreme devils. So if you're in the, let's say like you're up here, this is where Lucifer would be, then you could take any of these supremes as well. But given that that just hasn't happened, I would say that's not a possibility. But we got to look at Liu Bei and go like, This kid is definitely on some Supreme Devil timing right now. To me, as far as design goes, of course, maybe not necessarily power, but definitely design. He's not designed as any mid-ranking or high-ranking devil. He's designed as a Supreme Devil, and he was still able to get taken over. And they do say that the levels in hell are very stagnant. There's no growth from where you are. You're born with the power that you're going to have, and that's it. So, with that said, to keep going on this, Liebe being a Supreme Devil, we have to kind of consider the possibility that Lucifero should be able to do this. But he's not latching himself to a Dremelech or anything like that. So it does bring more questions to the table, and I think it's only answered by a Dremelech himself that has that specific power, because he would be able to find hosts for any seeking devil, including himself. Now, that's not to say a Dremelech directly killed Lucida, but he would have had a hand in this. And what does this do for the story? What this does is, like, in this headcanon that I have, he'll explain all of this, right? Where it's not only this big experiment that he was doing, but I mean, he would be trying to make something better or more like Lucifer all the way up here. And I would hope that he would say something to the effect of, like, I've really been trying, but I've only been able to get him to like maybe like 4th branch level, which means all of these other waiting devils are gonna be insane in power, and it's gonna have a much more profound effect on the series itself. But I just kind of want to stress, like, I don't think Tabata wrote himself into a corner. I think as a fandom, we are definitely putting ourselves into a corner, and there's so much room to write here for a Dremelech, and just because the name of the branch that he's in, Elohim Sabbath, means a lot. Let me look at the chat really quick before I keep going. I don't speak Spanish, Jack. I don't know what that means. I don't speak English, apparently. Oh, for the names. Okay. Jeez. That was ignorant. Listening. I didn't ignore anyone. You guys were talking. I was just like, okay. I'll just keep going. Jack hates chat confirmed. No, just you. Just you. Doubly confirmed, 2-path Lucifero. Have you heard of a Dremelech broadcasting theory? I have not, unless that's just like what I just went over. Oh, if he's the least fleshed out, then that could be a reason why Tabata felt he could take liberties for him and do something unique. Yeah. Is he a good one, at least? Is who a good one? Oh, a good DJ? God. Having WK in this chat is not productive at all. No, his eyes are CCTVs for the underworld, basically. iMagic type PQ was the one who came up with it and told me. Okay. That would be... What would be the end goal to being able to do that for the underworld? Man, I keep wondering if Tabata will make non-Clipbot leader devils important like Zagrid. If the brother of Dremelech exists in Black Clover, he could be a non-leader supreme like Zagrid. Yeah. I've been waiting for like Lucifero to at least name drop Zagrid again. Like, I keep saying it, I've been saying it for so long. As soon as we get Zagrid's full story, we'll know everything that's going on. And I can only hope that a Dremelech gives it to us. Devil with a personality, blasphemy, ball sounds like ball. Might as well be. See, ball sucks. Yes, I mean, not if Tabata's doing what I feel like he should do with ball. Maybe we'll go into that next. I've low-key had a similar theory for the past couple of chapters. Yours makes way more sense, though, and it's actually backed up by mythology. Yeah, thank you. What's good, Kino? Just me. What is this personal attack? I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I can't stand you. That's all. That's it. To show the other devils that Lucifero was defeated to accept Beelzebub as true. Yeah, I guess. And that is the other aspect I forgot to bring up, is that while he is in charge of Satan's wardrobe, he is the High Chancellor of the Order of the Flies, with Beelzebub at the kind of the head. So this is another reality we're gonna have to kind of start accepting here. Let's say this is not an illusion whatsoever. Adremelech did not create this person. This is not Belial. This is straight up Lucifero. We have to be considerate of the fact that there are, more often than not, Lucifer and Satan are two separate beings. So when you look up things about the Order of the Fly, you'll see, like, okay, yeah, Beelzebub runs it, but he runs it under Satan. But either way, it's under just one of those guys. So even though we attribute Beelzebub to the Nightly Order of the Flies, it does not necessarily mean that he is actually like the true leader of it. However, it seems like he does make most of the decisions. But that's because Beelzebub is always on record of being, when he's loyal to Satan, he's extremely loyal. He's the one who put Satan on game to, like, essentially becoming a god. Like, he physically did that himself. And it's, again, something we just have to consider. To show the other devils that Lucifer was defeated, except... Okay, yeah. Yeah, thank you, Zagrid has a story we have yet to see. He does, absolutely does. He had planned beyond just getting a body. Exactly. Also, what goes on in the underworld, though? Like, if Lucifero has a servant to pick out his clothes and shit, what actually is everyday like? You know, that's something that should be explained. Because as far as we're concerned, there's, like, all these seals separating them from each other. So there's no, like, direct line of communication. However, I was always thinking, like, as long as one of them had this power to kind of transmit themselves through lower ranking devils, like we saw with Lucifer and Liabe, then they'd have a line of communication able to make a plan. And I feel like that makes sense. But again, we're just not seeing that, like, at all. So it's interesting that we're not. Anyway, let's kind of shift topic for just a second here. So I did want to go into, like, why this tree is so different, and why it takes a different perspective to kind of piece these things together. Because while it does relay mostly the same information of the Tree of Life, it's laid out very specifically. Because, again, here we have these feathers. And I believe I started to go into it, but just did not go into it at all. These are pretty much ranks. These are ranks of angels. So we have thrones, dominions, virtues, archangels, angels, seraph, thrones, and then you have, like, the heavenly. This one's Pater, which is kind of strange, but makes sense in the fact that, like, Lucifer falls from this realm, so to be the Dark Father there, I guess, would make sense. But yeah, not sure why, unless that's his power. That could say power. Yeah, that's power, not Pater. Okay, cool. So the idea here is that the Earth is directly attached to all of these angels, and it exudes these angelic beings. While these are not necessarily angelic orders, but more so the channel of laws that go down to the physical realm, and then that physical realm embodies everything that is above it to create more like another godhead. So it's very interesting because in some ways we can interpret this to be as there are no actual angels, which is kind of a sobering thought here, because what if you don't get angels? And instead you get just things that are able to control how the earth is, and just kind of hope that they're not douchebags in the process. I don't think anymore that's what's going on. There was like a week where I was thinking like, damn, no angels. There cannot be angels. But in another sense, so we have to talk about the guy who made this. So his name is Robert Flood. And like I was saying in the beginning, he is a major backbone to like the Rosicrucians, the Golden Dawn, the Thoughts of Thelema. All of that stuff pretty much was fleshed out by him. Now, what's interesting is that this guy took like a very fundamental concept. If I had a camera, I'd show you the book. He took like a very basic contraption to make an observation, and he took that observation and macro scaled this many times over, and essentially came up with, like, this is just one of them, but essentially came up with the thought of loop quantum gravity, which is wild considering that this guy was living in the 1600s. There was no technology to even get to this conclusion, and by the means that he did it was just insane, and how it ends up being very plausible in the end and respected as a scientific view of an occurrence that does actually happen is pretty amazing. But anyway, I did want to point out, like, these are the specific angelic orders down here, while these are God in different places. So that's maybe it'll just look like, God in different forms, or we just have like one angel, and that angel is able to manifest, but only so much. He'd have to make its way down all the way here in order to manifest in full form, and that really just couples in with the idea of the pleroma that we've gone over so many times. So it still all fits pretty well. Let me look at chat one more time. Later, Buzz. If it's just deserted land with chaos and nothingness, like, what's the point of the power structure? True. I've said this before. So if we look at this, I think it's called a magic channel for a reason. So again, this would be the physical realm, and it collects all of the powers from these branches. So this goes back to that video where I talk about the aeons of certain things. So they're able to make these laws. So let's say gravity is at the very top. The law for the world that the world has to abide by is gravity. Then down here, we do know, like, Nama and Lilith exist. So the destructive forces of fire and ice also live here on Earth. It's one of the laws. And as we keep finding out more of the Supreme Devil's powers, it could potentially be things that we find in the microverse and the macroverse, that keeps the physical world and realm just running in general. So I think whoever sealed them away potentially could have noticed, like, the value in them. Like, we can't kill these guys because we need them to live our everyday life. So instead, let's seal them so we can keep draining, like, using their power to keep the physical realm sustained, while they're unable to directly consult us and cause harm to us in the end. Bloody said Dremelech is like a peacock, and Dorothy's leader of the Coral Peacocks has a dream magic. What about a Dremelech having nightmare magic? Even the lock, like hers. He even looks like her sleepy and tired. Okay, sorry. I had a tough time reading that one. Possible. I I look at a Dremelec and I look at a speech bubble, and I kind of hate doing it because I just want to see what comes up with a Dremelec here. I hate doing it because no other devils have really had their speech bubble be exactly like, what their magic is. It's just a different design. I do feel like this is kind of intentional somehow, because it looks like it's melting, and I guess this is going to go perfectly into like the next thought about a Dremelec here. So it looks like it's melting, and we know a Dremelec to be a sun god. And so let's to kind of go back on like this. Oh, see, this is what I wanted to happen. Is like Lucifero's still alive, but like incapacitated, and a Dremelec comes in, kind of wrecks them a little bit, and then puts them back together. That'd be dope. But I'd rather that not happen, to be honest. And Dremelec is noted as a sun god specifically. Now, to go back to like this Lucifero being a creation, something that I've noticed here, I think we all notice, is that a third eye comes up for Lucifero. However, there is no eye; it's just empty. And we could chalk this up to like, well, he's not fully manifested, blah blah blah. And then we got a third of Megicula, and she was able to manifest the third eye. So what is up with that? And this could be part of like, the incompleteness of a creation is like I was able to unlock like a space for this third eye, like I'm almost there, but it's just not happening, right? And we do know that there's a significance to a third eye given the elf arc. It's a huge thing that gives someone a huge amp to whatever power they're using. So now we take the sun, this melting part, and we take this creation aspect. Now, we have creation stories in all types of mythology, and some of them include the molding of a creation out of clay. And this goes back to like the golem theory, where instead of like clay, for instance, I guess it'd be more akin to like demonic goo of the underworld, where a Dremelec is able to mold creation and somehow imbue it with sentience to an extent, and then dress it with a type of magic somehow. And we have to understand that the sun, in most, if not all sources, is a source of life, not only light, but also life. So kind of imbuing them with sentience would make sense with a Dremelec being likened to a sun god. I think that is a possibility in and of itself right there. And I'm, of course, viewing a Dremelec here as the man behind the curtain, like in The Wizard of Oz. Like, the being that you see, the face, is the Wizard of Oz, but the guy behind the curtain is the one that actually constructed the Wizard of Oz and is using his face and powers, to his own ends. Let me get back to the chat here. Philip, I want to be optimistic, but I really don't think the Lucifero is a fake created by a Dremelec. I don't think Tabata would do that. I really think that was 50% Lucifero that got clapped. And that could be. And again, I get the frustration, and I'll admit if Tabata goes the route that this is actually Lucifer, like the guy that's meant to be at the very bottom, and 50% of them got clapped like he did, it would be a massive fumble. It's not a good look, for sure. But again, I think there's a lot of merit to this being more so a creation than anything. I do like my idea of him being Belial, just given that he is the angel of lawlessness, and he would compensate for this by giving everything else a law, and him not following those laws at all, and being the original king. So I guess to kind of illustrate that thought, so Flood here even illustrates the three veils outside of Keter or the Thamael. This second veil here, this light gray, would be the area in which Belial rules. So Belial rules in two places, like some of these devils do as well. Out here, outside of the scope of the tree, as a god, and then also down here. Oh, sorry, down here, with Adramelech in Crowley's tree at least. So we have to acknowledge this, and I guess this is a slight spoiler as well. So the devils that Asta goes up against, we have Lilith and Nama, who he just kind of clapped. There's no emphasis on any sort of devil core like it was for Megicula or Zagrid, or even Xenon for that matter. And they were just kind of sliced in half, and the battle's over. They were done for. And then we have Lucifero. Again, no emphasis on any type of devil core whatsoever. If anything, we would think that Asta would be able to slice him in half, and then we see, like, just kind of like with Zagrid, like, okay, that's where his core is, that's where we need to aim. At least for someone like who's able to land a blow that would be decisive to a devil. But there's no emphasis on it whatsoever. And so we have to think, like, what is the main difference here? And for me, it would seem that Lilith and Nama were very unnatural devils. They don't look like your typical ones. It looks like their power was shared, almost like Asta and Liebe with their arm. It seems as though they were not full-on devils or fallen angels. And given the mythology and the lore of them, they never started out at any kind of rank like that. They were more so fallen humans. And them being the first ones does make them a bit more special, but they're not angels or they were never gods or demons in that matter. So it would make sense as to why that didn't happen for them. Now, to get to Lucifero, what I would go for is that the rest of him is out here. So lower forms of beings don't have cores, is essentially what I'm going to go for. Supreme or not, since the highest form of Belial would exist out here, this one down here would not have a core. And so I want to go back to Lilith and Nama, where I've consistently equated them to Aisha Xenon, who lies up here, down here, with Lucifero Focal. And this is the third form of Lilith, and in some lore, depends on the source of lore that you're looking at as far as the Jewish mythology goes. Lilith and Nama are essentially the same. It's more so a personality, and it's very weird. We have to get ourselves out of this like humanistic aspect that we're used to, and kind of place ourselves in like what it might look like for something more divine, where they're able to exist in more than one way. So the two lower forms are here, while the last form is up here, and she would be a supernal being. So getting Megicula to have a third of herself with a core means that manifestation of her was a higher form than the two down here. Now, yes, it would imply that there are separate kind of personalities that go with them, and so it's kind of hard to flesh out from there. But it is, it's a thought to consider. It is just a thought to consider. So, and I just think it's kind of hypocritical of the fandom, honestly, to write off Lucifero and be like, oh, well, like he was a crap demon, and and one of our staples in most of our arguments, as far as like a regular mage dies or is close to, is let's wait next chapter until we see the Grimoire go away. And like same thing here, like we saw no core, and somehow we're still comfortable with the fact that we saw no core. Like that should be the Grimoire argument for us for devils, but it's not for some reason. Lucifero had thought bubbles, so Okay, you Magnus, you like missed the entire thing. Um, uh, I want this clip out as a tattoo. Oh, I never showed you guys. I got the tree on my leg. I'll probably show you guys on Twitter one day. But yeah, I got the the tree, and it's got two snakes coiling around it. Like, it looks really dope. It's one of my favorite tattoos right now. But yeah, da, da, da. That was the last of that chat. Okay. But yeah, there's I do find Adrenaline to maybe be sorry, I just saw the chat. Also, Tabata has so much freedom to go any route he wants based on the religious material you study. Like, he has so many devils to incorporate. Him fumbling the bag should be unimaginable possible. Yeah, he's been pretty consistent with, you know, some of the lore. I will say personally, I think he did start to fall off on it. After that whole Xenon stuff happened. Like, when that happened, he was legitimately forehead deep in occult lore, and it soothed the fuck out of me. But since then, it started falling off, and there's more stuff going on with the movie, and maybe some of the energy is getting put there, so we do get chapters. Like, I won't lie, the first thing I said, like, last week was, we waited a whole week just to watch Adremelech clap. And that's essentially what it was. And then, you know, putting it into perspective, number one, the life of Mangaka is very busy, constantly busy. And then there is a movie on the way. Like, how's Tabata supposed to spread his time and energy efficiently all the time? So, you know, while it might not be heavy in information, it could very well be the fact that, you know, maybe someone on the writing staff like took this and made a kind of a filler out of it before they got back to the information stuff, which kind of has to be next chapter at this point, because what else is there to do? So, you know, again, I get frustrations. It's just, I think we're just so frustrated at this point that we kind of view this as there's no way he's getting out of this. And there's plenty, especially with Adremelech. Let's kind of see what's going on here. I got noties. We'll kind of scroll and troll through Twitter, see what's going on. No, just likes. Thank you, Buzz. Got a comment here. Let's see what John had to say. The way in which the sin of sloth is used with him, Adremelech, makes me wonder his link to Belphegor and other demons of sloth, like Dream, Eater, Magic, or something. I don't think he's got anything to do with Belphegor. Tabata has not put in a Belphegor. That's what I'm going to say. I wish he did. Because it would have slapped so much harder. But there is no Belphegor in this. And this certainly is not Belphegor. This is definitely Adremelech here. Of all demons to like do an Okidoke on, this wouldn't be the one to like, yep, I'm just using that name Adremelech and for it to not be Adremelech. So yeah, I don't think there's any direct correlation here. I've made the correlation in a thread before of like just a headcanon like Jack Clover thing. If Belphegor is supposed to be like the son of Beelzebub and Xenon, so or the twin sons, and with Adremelech, you know, being part of the Order of the Fly, is able to help communicate with his kids that he's separated from, and also his wife, who he should be separated from as well. To a certain capacity. So that's kind of where I put it. But other than that, especially as far as lore goes, these guys have no interactions together. So that's kind of where I'm at. What's today? Today's a Tuesday. There shouldn't be any horny tweets on here. So I think I don't know. See, I get scared. Like, that you might like stuff, and it's always, like, some chick with an OnlyFans. Like, I don't follow anyone with an OnlyFans. Okay. Looked like she was clothed, so that's good. Um, okay, now what are you guys saying? I just see paragraphs in here. This like makes me anxious. Like, did I offend you? Um, we need the fattest lord up of all time. Yeah, we do. We absolutely do. Um, Lilith and Amma also have something like sun magic, like the freezing sun. Do you think Adremalek will have the same thing as well? I mean, Tabata quotes just what he... I'm sorry, I can't read the last part of your sentence. Do I think he's going to have more than one attribute? Possible. It's definitely possible. Let's consider this fact. Dramelech is the only black-haired devil we've come across, and that's not including, devils that were made by another devil. Sheesh. Sorry. I simped out for a minute. But yeah, there's something going on there. And that kind of goes back to like a thought I had with Raya. Notice that we had some elves that had one marking on their face. And for Yuno's case, it insinuated that he was a half-breed. Or at least half of his soul was realized at that moment. And then we had another one who was Raya. And Raya, again, he never had... Or yes, he did. He did have some white hair, but he also still had black hair. And to me, it kind of suggested that he might have some other roots, not necessarily just elf, but something else. And what that other thing is, I'm not sure. But we do kind of understand, like, half-breeds have... it's still rare in the sense, but hybrids have dual attributes. And then we also see, Yuno having two completely separate grimoires. Charmy with her grimoire cut in half. So then Raya is able to take on any attribute he wants, except for anti-magic, of course. Which kind of, goes in with that whole hybrid theory, but like to some massive extent. So whatever he might be, sorry, I'm just realizing there's like no Black Clover stuff on here, so I'm just trying to like find it. So whatever he might be a more like root race, and I've always toyed with the fact that he's part elf and part Jotun, which would really call for something like cool to happen. But other than that name drop that we had one time, there's been no real signs of Jotun. And of course, Broku and even I've made videos that talk about the evidence given or implied about Yami being a Jotun, because it is kind of all there. But again, Tabata seems to like pulling the trigger very late, and I think if anything, with these most current chapters, if there's anything that we can stay kind of frustrated with, it's just the pacing and not so much the writing. At this point, we're kind of sick of it. Okay. World. Buzz is reading Berserk, and I think he's starting to see a vision about I mean, what is there not to see? Like, I think that would be the dopest thing ever. Is like Tabata's obviously taking it off from Berserk, and Griffith was like the ultimate, golden boy, could do no wrong, and still, like, again, I will always preface this, like, I don't agree with anything that Griffith did. However, at this point, he's done a lot more good for the population of the Earth than he has bad, and this is why Kentaro was a genius. He's really separating the character being good and evil as a character versus using the vehicles of good and evil to get to your end goal. And this is the entire point of the clip out that we did talk about on a video, is that the tree of life, the Sephiroth, is supposed to be filled with concepts, and you're supposed to seek guidance and not so much direct answers and direct results, as opposed to the Clipot, where you do things, very physical things, to get a very instant and physical effect in the here and now. That is the purpose of the magic of both trees. That is light magic, that is dark magic. So, for, in a ritualistic sense, to make sure that he was able to meet his end goal, which ultimately is good in theory. Now, we don't know exactly if there's anything going on behind the scenes as far as he goes, or at least to where I stopped reading. He wasn't doing anything crazy, like messed up. But demons and humans were living in harmony, and the only things that were in the way of that were like actual monsters that didn't fall under the guise of demons, but things like trolls, like he was getting rid of. So he's always been adamant about, needless evil. However, he's not above killing that evil and doing what he has to do to get rid of it permanently. He's been like that since we met him, especially since the first time we saw him fight against the Diamond Kingdom. He got some of our first bodies, like actual body bags. So he's not this perfectly like golden guy. There's some darkness in there, enough darkness to be able to pull that kind of stuff off. Let me see. Jack, do you think this could lead to a civil war in the demon realm? Yeah, I have a whole video talking about a civil war, like from a year ago. With Beelzebub looking to assume the role of the king in hell, and in the end, Lucifero's loss helps push a Gemlex agenda. I think Beelzebub would be the head of this, and if you're asking me specifically, I still have either Asta or as the true head to the underworld, and I think some of these devils know this. And I've already given my thoughts on being Lucifer. There are some very blatant causes for that thought, but if he is the true, let's say Lucifer, Beelzebub would then side with him, which I think is kind of already happening, because I have talked about how Beelzebub is related to being one of the gods of the wind, as he is the god of the earth as well. So it's not a stretch by any means that Lucifer could be our later in the series, and Beelzebub would be siding with him somehow, and I wouldn't even be surprised if Beelzebub is somehow able to take, to some extent, but just what that's going to look like from here, because obviously, is not going to go like, okay, well, Beelzebub, you're a free agent, I heard you need a host, pick me. Something's got to happen, and I do think it would go back to this Adremlech being the Lord of Hosts, or the God of Crowds, of maybe forcing a contract. Because let's be real, humans do have less power than devils. So why should they be the only ones that are able to make this contract? If anything, humans are the cattle. These guys are the intermediary forces that are able to join the light forces of magic with the dark forces of magic. So if we have one that's able to make these contracts, then it would definitely change the ball game. And imagine a scenario where he realizes, like, we're out a king, but look at this kid. Like, anti-magic is something that I've never seen, and this really brought the head guy down, and has even more potential because Liebe is so young. But notices that Asta has nothing to do with anti-magic as a power. So goes like, I can do away with you, but I want you. You are best suited for a king here. And makes Liebe, or starts to make Liebe a king. Now, of course, there's different things, like Liebe would never go for that. He's so attached to Asta. But what does this really do for Liebe? Like a detachment from the Grimoire. He's no longer trapped. He's no longer under a contract. 50/50. He's got 100% free will over his entire life at this point. And I don't see Asta really begging him to stick around. Like, I feel like there's enough of him to be like, you know what? Like, you deserve to be free. He was going to give back the only source of his power in the Elfar. He was going to give his Grimoire to Licht, which was dumb. Like, he's dying. Like, what's he going to do? Take it to heaven with him? Like, it made no sense, but he was going to do it anyway. So I think that in and of itself could do wonders for the story. Like, Asta has to go back to square one, which means that we no longer have this broken form of Devil Union that can defeat just about anything. They could take this so many places. There's still a Time Devil. It's just insane. Like, how much stuff that's still in the background, and these guys are tired. Like, if there's gonna be a fight, they're losing. 100% losing. Unless Raya, Veta, and Fano come up. And that doesn't seem to be happening for some reason. So, we'll see. What are you guys saying? Are Raya and Yuno the only ones with markings on one side? Yeah. It looks like Gauch's does as well, but it's under the eye that he lost. So, we can probably chalk that up to the fact that that eye doesn't necessarily belong there. So he would be the only one that I can think of at the moment. I don't know if you read Record of Ragnarok, but Beelzebub is a character in the manga. He is a really interesting character and would love it if he was like that in Black Clover. I did. I watched Record of Ragnarok, and I stopped like once they pretty much started introducing Beelzebub a bit more. He did seem really interesting. I wonder if they wrote him like accurate to his lore, because yeah, Beelzebub is supposed to be one of the more interesting characters, very dynamic. They talk about how Beelzebub was like when the demons in the underworld, before they were sealed away by King Solomon, were kind of unleashed. Like, everyone went their separate ways and tried to rule over certain lands as like a direct god, while he kind of stayed inside of a statue and was like, y'all can worship me from here. And people somehow chose to do that. So it's very odd. Like, he's definitely one of the long con. Like, he's not one to be abrupt and very rash in his decisions ever. So Beelzebub is always super dope. Yo, what's up, Cole? Let's see. I've been thinking about Tabata is going to do with Undine, and so far I feel like he will have Noel keep Undine. It's possible. I mean, at this point, I could care less about like Undine and whatever. Noelle's got so much latent talent. Like, she could reach the level of Lola Pechka so easily by herself. I don't think she needs Undine. I think it helped to have Undine for that little bit to kind of get to know her powers more. But other than that, again, she doesn't really need it. So if she doesn't end up with it, I'm not going to be torn up at all. I actually don't even like Undine as a character. So the less of her I get, the better. I was actually hoping Noelle to get like a different like water spirit, which I hope Tabata kind of goes into. Like, they're definitely more than just like one. Oh no! Okay, it's covered. Jeez. It's Tuesday. Like, do homework or something. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, there's more than just Undines out there. There's more than just sylphs. There are other beings, and I was thinking it'd be cool to have a Kelpie, because Valkyries ride horses anyway, and Kelpies are super violent water spirits, so it would be kind of cool. I'm very interested to see what happens with Mario Leona. I was thinking that she's going to become the next Nama, or is going to become a fire spirit herself. Because I think that's what happens to humans that get too close to mana. That's a headcanon based off Berserk, though. So still has some cred as to that happening, but it's a thing. Okay, what is this one thing? I hate this picture, you guys. I don't know if we talked about this before, but I hate this picture. Like, people have used the shit out of this. And, like, oh, God, it's so frustrating. Because I really don't think he's not looking into the future. I'll be honest with you guys. I've never once picked up on the fact, like, that Julius was able to see into the future. Like, maybe, like, seconds ahead, or maybe even, like, a minute. As far as, like, battle goes. But just arbitrarily looking into the future, I don't think he's done that. Because he could have, like, we have to realize Julius would have to be evil if he was able to do that. But he's not, like, this overarching evil guy. Or else he would have just let things happen, which he did to an extent. But this part here, saying the third thing that'll happen is that Austin's going to die, just had to do with the fact that people were going to want to see someone take the fall for the events of the Alphard. Like, that's all that meant. It was just a political, like, these are the things that will happen because this is how politics are. Because I think before this, he even says, like, the Clover Kingdom will get, like, invaded by other kingdoms. That never happened because they were able to recover before that happened. That was the point of Damnatio being introduced, was that he's part of that force that stopped that from happening. It's not some futuristic prediction, like, by any means. I hate this picture so much, but we'll see. And if Julius goes like, "See, I knew Austin would die," and then it goes back to that picture, then I'll be proven wrong. But I in context, it just doesn't make sense that he looked into the future and saw Austin dying. Because then we would have been preparing for devils since, I guess we kind of were. But I mean, you guys know what I'm saying. This is, oh God, I hate it. Okay, what are you talking about, though? Y'all got no idea how amazing these next 10 chapters are going to be. Tobias has been cooking these reveals for a minute now. Okay, minus the first one. Yeah, of course. We still have the fourth sibling. I've got my own thoughts. I'm not trying to spend an hour talking about it again. You guys should just watch that video, or those videos. But man, would definitely love it if this was Yuno. That would be something, because no one else has met Yuno here. Vonica has not met Yuno. Dante's not met Yuno. But Xenon has, and if he recognized them, we wouldn't know, because he doesn't know what the fourth sibling looks like. His memory was visibly, purposely distorted, most likely by Beelzebub. But I think most of the reason behind that is because Xenon, out of all of them there, was the most altruistic one. He wasn't really out for, like, Dante's trying to accumulate all these women and trying to lead a world that has nothing but darkness and malice in it. Vonica's just a straight-up psycho who just wants to fight strong things all the time. Xenon was not like either of them. Xenon wanted to protect people, and still did to the very end of his character, or end in quotes, of his character, wanted to do that. So for a guy like that to sign on to, being tasked to kill a baby, would be kind of insane for his character. It doesn't do much for him. But if he's able to blur the face of this person, like Beelzebub is able to do this, and it does say this sort of thing in lore. He does insert demons into the minds of mages and also causes confusion. Say that he sees this person, Xenon would probably get triggered and be like, "You're the one I need to stop," because now he would remember, like, you're the face of evil. And say that was then he would be more adamant about stopping him. Not that he wasn't, of course. They were both obviously trying to kill each other. But we gotta kind of look at, like, what was going on. Like, Xenon sold his soul to Beelzebub, and Beelzebub, attaining a soul, something that all devils seem to kind of want, didn't look particularly happy. He wasn't super stoked that it was going down like that. So he could have been, like, losing a foothold, but also, like, for the better good, for in their case, getting to survive in the end could have worked out for their plan. if he is the Force of Gratis. Like, Yuno is in an undying body. I don't care what anyone says, even though he was clearly dying in the Golden Dawn. But he who else has two grimoires? Like, let's get real. That to me just seems like he's got an edge. Yeah, this Yami Heart thing, we should see what that's gonna like entail pretty soon, because if it doesn't do anything, that would be weird. But yeah, he's still got Lucifero's arm right inside of him, so it'll be hopefully soon we'll see what that means, if it means anything at all. Oh, someone made this. That's cool. Yeah, I've been seeing this. Lucifero, hopping over to Yami. I don't think it's out of the question at all. If he's able to, hop from lower ranking devil to lower ranking devil, Yami should count as a low ranking devil. I would think. I guess. Somewhat. Yeah. Yeah, I can see it happening for sure. Anyone saying anything in the chat? I always found the idea weird. It seemed like he was making predictions, not legit telling us the future. Yeah, I think just putting two and two together. Like, oh man, he punched you. Now the only things that can happen right now is that you can either like run away, punch him back, or get knocked out. Like, I'm not looking into the future. I'm just laying out the options. Like, these are the obvious routes that we're gonna take. Trayvon, four siblings' name is going to be Adams or Gratis. That would be interesting if it was Adam. It would, yeah, it would be interesting. What else is there? So let's kind of, I guess, talk about the ball demon. So why I think that Tabata won't use ball in the next level of the clip art. Not to say that I think it's still opening or anything like that. Oh my goodness, why did I scroll back up? Is not so that I don't think the clip art. Sorry, I just kind of had like a whole brain fart. I don't think the clip art's still opening, but it's gonna have to keep proceeding like at some point in the later arcs. So. The next level of demon for me would be Asmodeus instead of Ball. So the reason behind it is because I feel like Ball in this story actually is Xenon. Now what I mean by it, let's see if I can find it. Okay, how do I get to... I can never get... Oh, literally says profile on there. Okay. So, I forgot you can't search like you can on the app. Oh, God. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out my life real quick. Let's go Ball. Hopefully I did that right. Looks like I did. Okay. So, Ball is connected directly to Beelzebub. And it's stated in some sources that Ball just is Beelzebub, but in a much earlier form. And then it's said to be the same about Belial, but in the sense that this is not Belial the demon, but Adam Belial, who is the failed Adam, as opposed to Adam Cadmon, who is the Adam that we know as like the father to all people. I'm trying to find the thread because I looked at it yesterday because I remembered that I had wrote something on it, and I had said it was like my least favorite theory, but now knowing a bit more than I did then, I'll say that I think it would be a cool idea. Let me try and find it. Time, will you call me? Did something bring the service close together? Wait, what? What was this? Why Belphegor? Oh, well, whatever it was. Am I saying that? Wait. Samael, Adrenaline, and Ball have great background stories as far as lore goes, especially Samael. Tabata would be filming if he did the same thing, but on the what same thing? Um, I don't know what's happening in this. Sorry. Okay. So, okay. This looks like it might be part of it at least. Okay. So, yeah. So this is Ball's sigil, demonic sigil, and it looks a lot like Xenon's grimoire. The halberds being there and all that stuff. Now, something about the sigil is that it's also meant to represent part of like the Order of the Fly, and back then I had no idea why that was the case until I read up more on it and in earlier form. So it makes sense in this way. Now, looking at what happened with Xenon and Beelzebub, where it seems as though Xenon took on some aspects of Beelzebub along with creating his own form, seems to have become a separate demon. And so what I feel like is happening in that situation, I remember I made that whole video about him becoming Belial, and that isn't untrue. He did reach that state of turning away from God completely by giving his soul consensually to a devil. And that is reaching the state of Belial. Now, it may work that he became Baal. And the reason I say this is that because Baal is supposed to have been like this crafter of weapons. And this is something that we see on Xenon's grimoire, and then we also see like these axe-like things here. And then when Xenon goes into that form, he creates a new weapon. And this weapon, the lore on this weapon is insane. Like, and Tabata just didn't use it the way like the lore was written, but it was a name drop at least. Where as soon as that sword is unsheathed, it cannot be sheathed again until it has tasted blood. Like, it has to kill someone before it can be sheathed again. So that's a pretty big weapon to have. And Xenon casually made it. Not to say that it worked exactly like that, but it was a pretty dope weapon. So, I feel like, if anything, he did become Baal. And if we do get him again, it might be under this guise. Where he's lost complete semblance of who he was. But yeah, let me look at this chat because you guys are still writing. So, I wonder which devil's heart that is. I low-key hope it's Belphegor, or however you spell it, because of that one thumbnail where Belphegor and Yami were both on the toilet. Yeah, you're talking about my my video on them. Yeah. So that's under a different thought completely of these devils right now not being their perfect forms, and the layout still kind of getting worked through. So we're kind of like in a mid-creation story at this point, where I explain how we see humans that delve into forbidden magic. And we just saw Mario and Leona get too close to Mana, start to lose their human shape. If we go with Sekre first, she gets turned into an anti-bird, and then is able to freely shift back and forth. And this is something that's, it's called Theriantropy, where you can go from, you have both human and animalistic physical forms, and this is something that the Greek gods were famous for, was being able to shift into these different animals at will, and guise themselves to kind of spy on mankind that way. So if we look at the lore of Dremelech, he's supposed to have the head of a donkey, but he doesn't here. It's just a regular humanoid head, and this could go just simply to Tabata not wanting to go that route as a writer, which is fine, but could also go to the fact that like we could have a human, end up taking on like Adremelech's power somehow and his capacity in hell, and is then there transformed into being that matches the lore of Adremelech, having the head of a donkey and then having the peacock's tail and all that. I think there's a lot of room to write that in, but it's not really necessary that Tabata includes that sort of stuff, of course. But yeah, that was kind of the thought of Yami becoming Belphegor, because he does really fit the bill quite well. So yeah, exactly. He's the head of a nation and very smart tactically. Of course, he'd think about things far into the future. Right. Like, that's what makes a good leader, if you can't predict, like, just basic things that are going to happen off of what just happened. I don't know. People love to disagree with just, like, that reasoning. I don't know why. But if he could see into the future, he would be able to see all of this stuff. Like, I don't understand why people run with it. What about the 4 cocoons linked to, that's another one I hate. Linked to the other half of Lucifero's embodiment. Nobody mentioned him. I never believed in these cocoons, dude. I thought, it could be a cool thought, but I didn't see the value in having cocoons there. And as soon as Lucifero was, manifested, they were gone. Like, it just, I don't know. Not to say it can't be nothing, but, we all have our preferences on things that, we would like to happen, or things that we just specifically notice. And for me, that's just not one of those things that was like, yep, cocoons, like, we're staying in the game because we got cocoons. Yeah. Because, like, what would be in there? And I feel like that's a conversation people have tried to have. It's just not. I just don't see it being valid, right? You would think, so, like, Noct took the entire blueprint, right? And gave it to Julius and all the captains. And that's how they formulated their plan. In their blueprints, I feel like they would have mentioned these cocoons, right? And they just didn't. I would assume, and I could definitely be wrong here. So, and I get, we have undying bodies. They would hatch out of these cocoons as beautiful demonic butterflies, and I just don't see it. I think that's an awful way to do it. Like, why would your cocoons just be so vulnerable, in that sense? Yeah, I just don't get it. That's a me thing. If I'm being honest. Never saw the value in him like that. But I can make sense out of anything. Like, look, we knew the tree was sapping mana from the area, right? And that could very well be for the reason that they were sapping mana for, like, new hosts, the new triadic bodies, the undying ones. So it definitely could be one of those things, and but just the fact that they disappeared just makes it seem so odd. Like, it just seemed like the tree got tangled. I don't know how to explain those things. I don't know why to bottom them there, but if we can look past some of the stuff we've been looking past, I can definitely look past the cocoons. That's for sure. Can Morris be related to Plutus, a blind Greek god often depicted with a cornucopia of knowledge? After gaining 1,200 years of it, I find it pretty fitting. Possibly. I don't know, man. I've always equated him to Hoder, the blind brother of Balder. Oh, why did I open this? The Order of the Fly. Yeah. I think there's so many ways the story can be just revealed, man. Just really, I think we're just letting disappointment take over. Who's up here? We don't ever look at Josuke's Twitter ever. I don't think he posts about Black Clover all that much either. I thought I clicked on it. Okay. Let's see what's going on this guys. I think he was able to get his computer too, so I think he's able to stream again, right? Yeah, that was in March, right there. I love it when Quan gets done dirty. I love this stuff. This is what I live for. Yeah, he doesn't post much about Black Clover. Damn. What is this? April 7th? Today's the 12th. Yeah, bro, there's nothing on this page. Who do we go to? Let's see if J Cloud has any whack things to say, like he normally does, you know? We already know that hair twist is fake. He's wearing a wig. He's actually bald. That's a real post. The new Devil King. Austin and Gemma like joining forces. That's kind of, I guess that's kind of what we talked about. But kind of in reverse. I see him joining with Liebe and not Asta. Straight up stole my post. He stole my post. I was the first one that posted this, and he stole it. And then you guys hyped it up, and I'm so mad for that. Okay. Let's see. Does he not talk about Black Clover like at all? You got 50,000. 50,000. That's a good landmark. Congratulations. Code Geass. I can't spell Code Geass without ass. Just kidding. It's actually a pretty good series. Yeah, Lucifero's bad. Yeah, Lucifero is bad, and I think that's the point to his character. Like he's, like not saying there's anything wrong with what Jake Hall said. Like I agree. I think the fandom has this fault of hyping up characters just to be let down. Like the Spirit Guardians, we hyped them up. Tabata didn't do much hyping up. Just because we saw a silhouette of them and not their actual faces, we were like, oh, they must be badass because we didn't see their faces. And that's just not the case, man. The Diamond General is much of the same. Like, we just gotta stop hyping up characters that just had no build up at all. You know, not to say Lucifero didn't have build up, but you know, there's more to this story. That's bad. That is bad. March 27th. Good Lord. See, I should be the hive leader here. I post more about Black Clover than anyone, and I have a Kaiju number 8 background and profile picture. Like, how am I beating these guys with actual? Look at this. He's got Asta's headband in there. He's got Asta as come on. If I'm not your hive leader, then something's off here. Just I don't need to be a hive leader. I just want to be Kaiju number 8 hive leader. Okay, Quan Credible. He posts about Black Clover, so let's see what's going on. Imagine if all this is just an illusion brought by I'm like, okay, yeah, we just talked about that. No need. Again, doesn't look like. Oh, what is this? I keep looking at this picture and I never read it, so let me actually just read it and see what all the fuss is about. Are there any major differences between being the editor on Black Clover and being the editor on I didn't know that one of the editors was also doing Jujutsu Kaisen. Wow. Okay, Tatsuhiko Katayama said, let's see, for Black Clover, the main work is coming up with story ideas together with Tabata-sensei. Though once the idea is decided, everything is super smooth. With Jujutsu Kaisen, all the ideas are already there, so it's more about deciding the direction. With Black Clover, we have the direction, it's just about coming up with ideas on how to get there. I think that's the biggest difference. Okay. So he's practically making sure to... Okay. So I get it. Um, I don't. That's not insane. Like, it's gonna be kind of wild to come up with 600 plus chapters of an entire series from beginning to end for each chapter and how you want it to be laid out. Like, as a musician, I'll say this: I will never, if I listen to a song and go like, I want to be able to do this song in piano or guitar or whatever. I hardly ever start out at the very beginning with the first note. That's kind of setting yourself up for failure. I like to start with the climax of the song or the chorus of the song and then work my way into like the verses and stuff like that. Because once you have the chorus and like what draws people into the song, you can create the rest of the feel of that song. Because while like let's say if I wanted to do like I don't know like California Girls by Katy Perry, like we have to consider like I have my own style as a pianist, and if I do the chorus, I figure out how I want it to sound, and then I have to make sure that the rest of the song is gonna fit and build up perfectly into that chorus or the climax of that song. So writing a story is much of the same, and that's what I'm doing with my own story right now. Is like I'm figuring out how I want these events to go, like the biggest events to go, and then just trying to piece it together from there until they finally meet. But I don't think this is not crazy. Like you can have all the information from lore that you need. It's just like, okay, guys, how do we want to relay this idea? Like this has to happen. So it's not like they have a free for all. They have to come up with like, you know, ways for it to start making sense. So yeah, Broku was saying half of all authors start with the general direction of the story and then make it up as they go. Yeah, Stephen King, a good example. Yeah, Stephen King literally does do that. He was like the focus of a of a joke because of that. Jack, you're just in this chat, but some of y'all don't deserve the internet. I believe Bean's a mood too. Damn, dude. Oh, not a mood. Okay. What else do we have? It's so interesting too that we have an editor that is on the JJK staff as well, and JJK and Black Clover the fandoms just don't get along. It's just so weird to me. Again, another Broku. Maybe we should just go to Broku. Ooh, 666. He did that for a reason. He's the fourth Zogratis. Let me look at this. Cosmic Rays, 15% Lucifero, over buffed captains, absolutely. Kaiju number 8, DBP, yeah, it does. Kaiju number 8 is just gas, straight in and out gas. Quan creditless. I didn't say it, but you nailed it. Just kidding. I love Quan. I have a theory Tabata didn't want Lucifero to be the kind of character that lore dumps. He wanted him to be only hands. That's what I hope is coming next. I hope not. I really... A lot of stories like, okay, I was just watching, like, you know, just some... I think it's called Things You Missed About Constantine or whatever on YouTube. Just someone analyzing the movie. And really well done. Like a straight up masterpiece that is honestly underappreciated. But I love what they did was that the whole time they're thinking like, spoiler alert if you plan on watching this, I guess just don't listen to this part. That they believe that Lucifer was behind this the whole time, and it wasn't Lucifer. It was actually an angel in cahoots with Lucifer's son, Mammon. And Lucifer, he was only in the last maybe like 5 minutes of the film, and he had such a profound impact because he did not follow the laws set by the film of devils or necessarily angels. He kind of fell into this other realm of being, and when he descends upon Constantine, everything is kind of put together so solidly by him in just those last 5 minutes, or in that 5 minutes that he's there. And he banishes his son, and then strips Gabriel of his angelic being, which is like godlike power, because no devil should be able to like strip an angel of power, but he was able to do so. So it's I think to have Lucifer come in at a very vital moment to and the way he came in too, it was very imposing. Like he was very, very terrifying. And he calmly walked up to Constantine and lit a cigarette for him. And, you know, he was just so calm, but you could tell evil just lived in him. But he also was not without reason. Like he did acknowledge that there needs to be a balance, and even if it's my own son throwing off this balance, I won't have it. And so that's why he put his son back in hell and stripped Gabriel of his wings. So I really like the idea of having like a just, like, demonic being, but only evil when the timing is right, and that just wasn't the time. So hopefully, I'm hoping this guy's just fake, and it's just like when you name an invention after something, like, oh, this is Osimo 3000, like this is Lucifero, like this is the closest I could get to, you know, the guy himself, but it's not perfect. Yeah, people have misinterpreted this interview a lot. It looks like it, man. I've been seeing like the picture. I never read it before now, so yeah, I don't get why people make such big things out of small things. What else? No fandom gets along. I disagree. I feel like there's some fandoms that are fine with each other. It's just like, don't compare. Like, don't say my series is better than yours. Like, it's kind of a useless argument. You're gonna like what you like. Can't believe Broky was hiding in plain sight. Oh, dude, facts. This guy's been a demon the whole time. The fourth so gratis. I see a lot more people discussing the possibility of this Lucifero being an illusion of Adremelech, similar to a construct of Dorothy's dream magic. They are correlated to the same level of the tree. This could actually create a lot more tension and gravity in the future of BC. Yes. Yes. Oh, he said more. If only the Second Gate Devil could create a construct of such power, then it would show the cast still has a lot to overcome to fight the higher devils. Right. That's the whole point. If the power level stops here, like, imagine what the power level looks like here. It would, oh, sorry, I went the wrong direction. If it stops here, and the power level is now all of these devils, then, like, other fights are legitimately impossible. There would have to be a pretty significant arc to happen to make these guys vastly stronger than they are. And look, Marion Leona pushed herself to the brink of her physical being. And that was for what could potentially be something that was fake and made up by Adremelech or otherwise that we've gone over in this video. And it still wasn't enough. So what else do they need to do to be able to overcome these later threats? That is the story that we should be looking forward to. But for some reason, that just eludes, you know, the semantic process of most of this fandom. Because Dorothy's dream magic creates constructs of how she sees people, like how she sees Nozell as a sweet guy, Adremelech could be creating this dull, exaggerated construct of how he or she... why did you say she? I guess we can't assume. It is 2022, so... of how he or she sees Lucifero as the king of the underworld, arrogant, brash. Possibly. I don't disagree with that possibility. So in the end... Oh, sorry, let me look at this chat. And what about the thing in a jar in Morris's laboratory in 274? It looks like the brand in Tabata shows it in 2 panels. He meant to do it. Yeah, that's another thing. It kind of falls in line with the cocoon argument here. Whoa. I don't view that as anything deeper than it is. It very well could be. You know, like, why have a brain on a table at all? Yeah, who knows? Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. I don't really have a particular stance on it. I've just never really been sold on that thought though. Just read that. Wait, so Batman, you're saying you should be the leader of the Justice League? He should be. He should be. He knows how to kill all of them. That's what got him kicked out. What? Bro reading Black Spade. Oh no. This is a mutual. This is a mutual. I read the chapter and it somehow became even worse. Libe says, I don't have enough anti-magic to negate. I thought that was important, by the way, because we've never seen, like, Libe run out of anti-magic or, come close to, like, we haven't seen it being treated like mana, is what I'm trying to say. So the fact that he was able to say that means there is a limit. And that's pretty cool. But, okay. Enough anti-magic to negate the gravity on the both of us. And then not even a couple seconds later, Asta just magically withstands Lucifero's gravity in base. What? Oh, and this guy legit... Yeah, it was the Black Moon. Like, that was literally like a panel itself. Why are we disappointed with that? I want to see how that went over for him. Because Yusuke is usually pretty on point for the most part. So I want to see like how that post played out for him. Because yeah, the Black Moon, and then we have Star as well that negates that gravity somehow. They never really explained why, but it can. So he had all of those things going for him. So he likes the potential of Gemlock as an actual serious antagonist. I like the vibe he gives off. If the bot plays his cards right, he could have something special. True. Okay. Where... I'm not a hater. This has to be to that post. It was. Okay. Oh, so he responded to that post himself. Yeah. Oh, no. He did not. I swear people will be reading and skipping pages. He didn't notice Black Moon and Shadow. I mean, let's be honest. Like, Yusuke, I don't know if you're watching or if you ever watch, but, like, come on, bro. Come on. It's hard to miss. But it's okay. It happens, like, literally to everyone. Austin nullified gravity gives no ability. BC haters are definitely the dumbest on Anderson. Whoa. That is a big jump. Like, Yusuke is not a hater of Black Clover. They tweet without context and slander without effect. I think that's another thing we gotta stop doing. Is like, it's okay to not be okay with something. And like, and if you legitimately missed that page where you didn't see Black Moon, it would look like an ass pull. So, I mean, I'm at least hoping he admitted that, like, okay, I did not see that part and I concede, but that's what I'm trying to figure out. Okay. So it looks like this could be doubling down, but let's see. I'll say this much. I've had time to digest this chapter. While I don't like the Lucifero stuff, I cannot deny that Tabata's eye for teamwork, team battles is phenomenal. It's always been one of his strong suits, even from the beginning. Yeah, I can agree with that. Again, I'm not much into like the battles of BC. They've been pretty cool, but I'm more on the level of like Naruto type fighting. Was wildly strategic and like they're planning for like years ahead here. Like we had Itachi putting like post-mortem traps in place. Like that is crazy. Not to say again that they're not cool to me, but they don't hit like that for me. Man, I've been done enough ranting today. Tabata has to have a clear idea of what he's doing. I'm gonna just hope the next chapter is after. I think that's all you need. You just got to be a little patient. That's all. So I'm assuming that post did not go over well. Gemline's character should be interesting, if anything, though. Let Tabata cook is just a way to prolong the excuses and temporarily keep the fire off the roof before it burns the house down. Okay, I will argue that the times that it's been said and we let him cook, we've come out with some pretty good experiences. Like, with the second Grimoire, Xenon, like all this stuff. And we can't deny, like, Megicula's Descent was dope. The stuff with Morris was dope until it wasn't. And then, who else do we have? I had another thing in mind, but I'm dropping the ball here. The whole Magna thing, that was dope. We let him cook, and look what he did with Magna. Like, of all people, that was crazy. Okay. There's no way we're doing this again. Villains are trash, no stakes. Okay. Spade conquers a big part of known land, doesn't count. Half a Golden Dawn dies, doesn't count. Knock vows to make Asa the ultimate warrior, doesn't count. Lucifero spawns at 50%, doesn't count. Pitassi, he's got a point. He's got a point. We're kind of picking and choosing what's important, what's not important. Dante better than Lucifero? Absolutely. That is 100% fact. The y'all's expectations were too high argument. I'll address. Oh, please do, because that is me. This is the most domineering threat and Black Clover villain we've gotten. Okay, that is where we differ. I don't think it is. And I think we have to be open to the idea that it is not. Okay, the bar wasn't even crazy high. Just be fear imposing and be better than Xenon. And he couldn't even do that. I think he was imposing. Like, the initial manifestation was definitely more imposing, for sure. After that, of course not. He just became more of like a shtick than a demon. But, yeah. I find it funny. Oh, that's how you want to start off anything. I find it funny. How y'all ignore and get angry when someone mentions stakes until it's too late. It's literally for times like these when you mention stakes so much and the importance of them in this story. Just saying. I'm not saying that there were no stakes during the Lucifero fight. There were plenty moments, especially at his introduction, that seriously presented real stakes. However, that all got sidetracked and erased real quick. Yeah, I mean, we kind of got to give that argument to the people that are saying there are no stakes here. Like, what can you do? What can you really do? I just think, again, it's a matter of patience. We got to finish out this arc, and I don't think it's over. I think it's about to start next chapter. It's got to start next chapter. Also, man, these are the same day. Like, that post really set him off. Okay. Also tired of the you're judging someone who's only at 50% argument. A 50% increase in power doesn't take you from complete fodder to OP hacks all of a sudden. And even if Lucifero was at 100%, who says Asa and them doesn't surpass their limits again? It's a what-if scenario, though. Like, yeah, you can make the argument for both sides, and it just wouldn't make sense. And especially we don't have... I'm assuming we don't have the full story yet. So, again, it's a matter of keeping your mind open for later things. Oh, my bad, guys. We got a game today, so at some point I gotta head out here. I'm tired of... Okay, yep, we kind of read that, I believe. Pattern's so obvious as to how villains get defeated that I'm surprised y'all are denying it at this... Like, show me a shonen that doesn't, like... The villain wins, man. Like, there's probably, like, 2%. Calm down. I'm tired of... Okay, yeah. Where's that post? Oh my goodness, this is all the 7th. Okay. The keywords as to what Lucifero said that I think people skipped over due to their anger was next time we meet. Like, he's clearly insinuating that he planned a retreat or a backup plan in advance for when this... not necessarily. I think he legitimately thought he was able to take everyone there. And then... when things didn't pan out, he was like, okay, now I gotta go. It's one of those basic, like, strategies. If you're losing a fight, you probably want to retreat and then come back with a better game plan next time. Like it's not... It doesn't take, like, 4D thinking, you know? What didn't age well? If you think Lucifero is going to be defeated next year, yeah, that did not age well. That is bad. It's not in their chests. It's more like, like the top of the gut area. I think they're able to survive that for a little bit. For a little bit. Let's see. Guys, do not be surprised when all of a sudden you see. Y'all should have known by now why y'all hyped up Lucifero. You're asking to get disappointed. That was me. This statement is true, but not in the context I mean. Okay. Oh, I don't get it. Damn. Okay, I can maybe see why he comes off as a Black Clover hater. I don't think he's a Black Clover hater. He's just very vocal about the things he's displeased with, which does not translate well in this fandom. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm the tone of these tweets are very like come off as condescending and whatnot, but I think it's just because it seems like he's being attacked pretty relentlessly by the fandom for like pointing out something that he did not like, which is kind of understandable. We're not gonna act like 95% of the chapter didn't just happen just to get hype over 2 panels of him applauding. I literally said that in the stream. Like, I felt like we did wait a week to see a Adrenaline clap. Now, again, considering the other factors, there's a movie that they're doing, and you know, it's not always easy to like pull these off back to back. So, I've got to cut a little slack to the man. Yeah. Okay. Did that tweet get taken down or what? No, it couldn't have because we read the retweet. So where was it? Did I pass it? Okay. Uh-oh. He retweeted Buzz. That can't be good. So Buzz says, Lucifero beat them all brutally in the span of a single volume when he wasn't even fully using his 50%. It took Asta coming back like twice or thrice to get him to this point. And you don't even know if he can regen next chapter. I get the complaints, but I don't agree. Oh, so he's responding to something that Yusuke was saying? No? Oh, just a general tweet. Okay. So we'll go back. And so Yusuke says, I think an issue people have with this defeat of Lucifero, which I doubt extremely, is that it reaffirms the idea of anti-magic equals GG. While that might not seem bad at first, considering how that's been a prevalent theme throughout the entire story, when you have, oh my goodness, I did not sign up to read 5 pages of, oh goodness, okay, here we go. Okay. The main villain, and by far the strongest character in the series, getting defeated, which again I doubt, by which, if you dumb it down, is a power of friendship, power up to Asta, and it's actually a power of step brotherlyhood, and not the power of friendship. So let's get that straight. Power up to Asta in not even 5 seconds will leave a bad taste in people's mouth. I'm waiting to reserve my final opinion on the entire ordeal because there's clearly multiple plot twists being set up, but it's understandable to me why people are upset. And by the way, just addressing this before it gets commented, yes, Asta's previous battles early on in the series are primarily run through teamwork and not him solo squatting villains. However, it's always been established that anti-magic is a trump card, and used properly, it's by far the most dangerous ability on the playing field, since it's just insta-negs anything it comes across against, especially in Evelyn. Okay, so that's where we are just a tad bit wrong. We see in the Elf arc against Licht launches a spell at Asta, and he even says that some of the anti-magic was not enough to like neg that spell completely. So there's room for anti-magic to get anti-magic here, and he's not. It doesn't just neg anything. So there's more to that system than just that. But I will say, I do find the most understandable part of his argument here, of anti-magic being just broken in the long run, and to go back to what I was saying about how we see these mages. It took whatever case this might be. This 50% of Lucifero, especially if he's fake. We saw Mario Leona start to lose her physical self because she drew too close to Mana. And then what was the other example? I'm losing it. And then humans can't even touch forbidden magic because they don't have suitable bodies to do so. So what can humans do with mana? They have an actual end limit, and what we saw with Mario Leona is the end limit. Like, you cannot draw any closer unless you are of a different race, or a hybrid of some sort. So now what I'm thinking is like, and just imagine this is a fake Lucifero, and this power skill jumps from the second branch to the third branch, which is going to be even crazier, out of the 10 branches here. Then instead of looking for more ways to apply mana, wouldn't it be a much cooler story if they started using other means of fighting, like weaponizing ki? Could be a huge thing here. I think a lot of the fandom would appreciate more from ki than just, an explanation as to why Asta can sense things that, to compensate for what he's not able to sense as a mage with mana. Weaponizing ki, alchemy. Alchemy should be a huge part of this, and I think it will be coming into this next arc or some of the later ones. You can't make allusions to esoteric societies and have a series about magic full on without things like alchemy, and especially using that tree. This tree was made by like a top tier alchemist. Like, this has everything to do with it. So I think it opens up the world to considering something else, because mana doesn't work. And what this does, it puts Asta on a different playing field now, to where he can't just neg this new power system that I'm suggesting here. He's not able to neg it because it's not mana based. And that would put Asta back at square one again. But if we can weaponize ki for Asta, that would also put him in a different class as well. So I think we just have to be open to just like stuff happening, and we just keep closing ourselves off because something doesn't go the way we want or need it to. There's still a story to be written, and I don't think this closed any doors at all. We just gotta we do have to let this man cook. Honestly, there's a plan. There obviously is a plan. I just wanted to go back to that tweet, man. Let's see. Tabata leaving out Lucifero's devil's heart being sliced open tells me that Lucifero isn't dead. Such an important piece of lore, first introduced in the Xenon versus Juno battle, would not be ignored all of a sudden with Lucifero. Lucifero is only temporarily gone. Yes, I agree. And like, he straight up says, like, the last half of me is still in the underworld. Like, he's gonna come back. Just like Megicula was gonna come back. So that argument should be dead, by the way. So if you see that on Twitter, just rake them over the coals. So what happened also? Okay, yep. Okay, dude, what? Dude, I must have passed that one. I just got so into these rants here. What? Where is it? Damn, dude. Because, like, he obviously missed. I think he was so busy being upset that that he just missed that whole panel. Okay. Let's see what you guys are saying real quick. My problem with Black Clover fans is 1 minute Black Clover is peak fiction, and the next minute they're insinuating that Tabata doesn't know how to write facts. It's a bipolar fandom, man. It is what it is. And again, I think most of us, at least on this channel, are like adults. So if that is the case, if you fall under that umbrella, a lot of these guys are kids, and kids are fickle beings, and they got to go through their phases and whatnot, but not to discredit any of what they're saying or their frustrations, because it's very valid, I think. But I do think it is jumping off the deep end to like start raking the author over the coals, who's really not dropped the ball much, if at all, in this entire series. So I think letting him cook is the right thing to do here. White, in my opinion, anti-magic is like antimatter in the real world. When matter and antimatter meet, they annihilate one another. However, it is limited to the mass of the antimatter. Yeah, and that's exactly what Wizard King Minato said. He was the first one out with that antimatter theory. If you guys didn't know, like, he was the only one saying that stuff, and somehow now it's popular. So someone important must have said it. But yeah, he was very first one, was on top of that, and he might have made another video to like go further into it, but I'm not completely sure. Yo, what's up, Gene? No, yeah, I'm glad you made it, dude. 100% agree with you that what you were saying. I was like this with Naruto Weekly when I was a kid. Yeah, I was kind of the same with Naruto as well, growing up. It's when it seemed like Kishi kind of dropped the ball. Although I will say, Kishi dropped the ball a lot more than he didn't. And it's not that he's a bad writer. I think he felt like he was being rushed, or he was rushing it for whatever reason. But he really left some open holes in some spaces here. So what's this? Oh, okay. Man, I really wanted to find that Yusuke tweet. But anyway, so yeah, I guess all in all, guys, let's try to leave an open mind, and I just tried to show you guys, like, through all this stuff, there's enough lore to give us more of a story, and it would actually be a little bit more interesting if it started here, rather than, you know, this Lucifer be the real Lucifer and blah, blah, blah. And even if it was, we still have to consider, like, you know, can these guys be replaced, especially if their magic is being used in the way that it's being sapped from them in order for the physical universe to continue to prosper. So, like, the law of gravity coming straight from the top, the law of space from Beelzebub coming from the top right into the physical realm, time coming straight down the channel for the physical realm, fire and ice coming straight down here. So, like, those things, like, if that's the case, then these people should be able to be replaced as well. So I think, you know, or Asta becoming the new Satan or Lucifer is still on the table. We just need to know the lay of the land, and unfortunately, we still don't know much about the underworld. And to be honest, we shouldn't, because we've been dealing with humans the whole time. So they shouldn't know much about it, and it should be easy to pull the wool over their eyes and say, like, hey, I'm actually Lucifero, like, I'm the king of demons. You know, anything stronger, like anything vastly stronger than you, it's obviously you're going to look at it as a god and not realize that there are many other levels to it and much stronger things out there. So I think looking at it from that scope could be important as well. And then not to necessarily say that Adramelech would be lying to, like, let's say Morris if he took over Morris. His name does translate to Magnificent King, so he's the king of some demons. Like, these demons on this level are definitely his. So he wouldn't be lying in that sense. But there's still a lot, and then the whole connection with Moloch, as far as the name goes, you know, that's there. Being part of the Order of the Flies and being in cahoots directly with Beelzebub, who was already known to, like, betray, I forget which one, either Lucifer or Satan. But it's, you know, there's so much writing we can do here. And again, We just need to keep an open mind and let the man write the series first. And then I think it'll be completely fair to judge it after the arc, or after some things start coming to light. Again, we have the 4 siblings still out there, Time Devil still out there. It's just, there's so many open doors here. We cannot just write them off and say, nope, this arc is stupid. Because it'll all tie together. I promise it will. But other than that, I gotta end the stream. We've got a big game today in a couple hours, so I want to get down to the field for my boys, get them all warmed up and stuff. So thank you guys for tuning into this, and yeah, spread a little more, positivity throughout the fandom, or at least a little bit of an open mind, some hope that this series is not done, and Tabata is definitely not done cooking. So, again, try your best to understand people's frustrations, take heed to it, but also consider, is it really a corner that Tabata's written himself in, or are we kind of jumping the gun? And it's possible that we're jumping the gun with our frustration. So, last time I'm going to read the chat. Let's see. Unfunny Man, do you think what happened with Gaja is a valid thing to be more upset about rather than the recent? Absolutely. I 100% agree with the frustrations on Gaja's end over this chapter. I don't think these things are done. We haven't fully wrapped up what's going on. So let's wait, and then maybe I'll come back like next week or in 2 weeks and be like, okay, yeah, that's here. And then this is just the second arc of the saga. Exactly. And again, we were only exposed to like one side of the tree, and that's in quotes because we didn't really expose ourselves to the angels or whatnot, but kind of the followers of them. And that tree was used to open up the underworld for Zagrid. But you need both, and both will give you the lay of the land. So to understand both trees is important for later arcs. So I said this a lot on this channel. Tabata is still setting up this story, and I know that's not like a really cool thought for some people, but I picture him as a very long-term writer, and again, we can't explain one side of the tree and then hop into like the brunt of the story. We have to understand the other side, which this is, and then later on they are going to have to figure out like where they are in the balance and how they can maintain a balance or disrupt it if need be. Because there's obviously things that haven't been passed down as far as information goes, and like where humans come from, where elves come from, where the dwarves went. There's still so much to know about this universe. So I think it's very important to actually see what the universe is composed of, and then continue with like the bigger story, which would explain why we haven't had an overarching villain yet. So yeah, I'll end it there, you guys. Thank you again for tuning in. Let's just luck on this game. Hopefully we win. I'm missing a lot of players, so it's not looking great, but we'll see. They pulled out some amazing ones this season, so stoked to see how that goes. But thanks. I will see you guys in the next video. It's been Jackals to go. You either know or you don't.